Hi everyone, welcome back to Lightsabers and Good Vibes. My name's Richard. You're very welcome. So we're going to have a Q&A. A lot of you have been very kind enough to post questions about me, about my interests, about some of my background. So I'm going to provide you with some answers. First question from the lady Cleo is regarding my army career. She asked, where was I posted? For that, we go on a journey. Come with me. Hi. Hope that didn't hurt too much. So, if we have a look, you'll see I've got a list of places from. But my computer's just gone off. No, don't do that. That's better. A list of places from Berlin, West Germany, Berlin. So it was my very first posting. If you look on the list, 1983, December, the Royal Hampshire Regiment. That was my very first posting, very first one. I would have been, 17? That was the very first regiment because I was in 2. I'll tell you about that later. So, very first one, very first posting was Wavell Barracks, Berlin, December 1983. I remember it well because it was snowing, very cold. I think it was the advance party had already got there. I was a young first class private. I hadn't been in the army very long. Unsure. We got there, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this is a new experience. This is cold." But then I remembered I had been to Germany before when I was younger, so it wasn't entirely new. But Wavell Barracks was new to me because I'd never been there. I'd been to Berlin before, but never as a soldier. Many happy memories from Berlin. We were. I can't tell you too much, obviously, because I signed the treaty, NATO treaty. We were out there for a purpose, to keep the peace, and we went back. We did it twice. We went back twice, and that's all I can really tell you about Berlin. It was a super place, super place. My German's pretty good anyway. I'm more or less fluent, so I got by very, very quickly in Germany, as you do. Anyway, on to the next location. So I'll see you shortly. Hi again. Hope I'm not making you too dizzy. So another place I was based during my army career was Andorra in Spain, where I learnt to ski. We weren't there for very long. It was literally a posting, more of a glamorous posting than anything else. But I spent the best part of 6 weeks learning Langlauf, which is cross country skiing. I started on the nursery slopes, and you progress to the different colour slopes. So you go through all the various colours, learning how to snowplow, to stop, learning how to get on and off ski lifts, cable cars, and then eventually you get onto the Black Run, which are the hardest slopes. and yeah, I became quite an accomplished skier. Um, other places I've been based. I'm not going to go through all of them because it would take too long. But another highlight would be Aldershot, um, where I learned how to parachute. Uh, I won't tell you who with or the circumstances because it's quite personal and quite private. But yeah, I became a parachutist. You can, if you know anything about the army, maybe you can guess. But that was my second job, if you like. I parachuted, and so that was my army career. My fitness wise was very good. You know, I'm 57. I'm still super fit. Haven't lost it. And that brings me on to the my next question from a different subscriber this time. Hi. Next question is um, well, the next subscriber is user formerly known as T. Thanks for your question, by the way. Uh, how did I adjust to civilian life once I came out of the army? Um, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but um, a typical day in the army includes the valley, includes muster parade after breakfast, and our run first thing in the morning around the break and beacons. Um, this is when I was a young soldier in basic training. Um, what else? The milling as well, i.e., the boxing, which you had to do. You had no choice. It's a barbaric sport, but um, it was to toughen. Part of it was to toughen you up. I mean, I'm tough anyway, uh, but it toughens you up. Um, what else do we have? The shouting, the bawling, which you can't react to, by the way, in any way, shape, or form. They don't condone it. They rather, that's the wrong word. They have very high levels of discipline. Um, the ironing, the preparing your kit for the morning, um, carrying the weight, drawing your weapons from the armory, firing range, camouflage and concealment, um, exercise, combat, you know, uh, everything that you can think of would have been either part of a training exercise or for real. Coming out back into civilian life, all I say is imagine everything that you have known regarding the British Army has suddenly taken away from you. It disappears in a puff of smoke, and you're back to being a civilian. Um, Adjustment wasn't difficult financially because I had a job. Fitness wise, I miss it. Although I say I miss the fitness, I still keep myself fit. I mean, I'm 57. I'm still super fit. I've never lost my fitness. That's genetic because my father was a British Army officer and he was super fit. He played rugby for the army. He played on the wing. He was very quick and very fit. And I've just inherited his fitness. I've never lost my fitness. I mean, I've competed in all sorts of sporting competitions, um, including the three-peat challenge. I've done parachuting, um, and the thing yeah, it's the transition was fairly straightforward because I've carried on the fitness. I still go down to the Brecon Beacons, my old stomping ground where I trained. You know, I mean, I also trained in Aldershot for part of my training. Um, the regiment I was in at the time when I was in Aldershot are no longer there. They're now in Colchester. But that I'm not going to go into too much detail because some things I can't talk about because it's personal and private as well. But the transition from being a regular soldier to being a civilian for me was fairly straightforward. Um, Nothing much had changed in the real world. I said the real world, that the world that isn't military, that isn't regimented. You know, and there's a massive crossover between the two. Obviously, because people don't walk around with guns, do they? Those are it's obviously under controlled conditions because it was part of my job. And you don't see people walking around in wearing camouflage, do you? Or in combats. I mean, unless you live near a barracks, you're not going to see it because the British Army, they're our last line of defence. You're not going to see them unless we're going to war. But, God forbid, but that's when you're going to see them. Anyway, I hope that answered that question for you. Now we're on to the next one, which will be in just a moment. Hi again. Slightly different location this time. We're in my lounge. So formerly known as T, sent. He had another question. Thanks, by the way. What's the worst thing I've ever smelt? CS gas. Yeah, definitely CS gas. During my army career, um, basically it was in a gas chamber. There was about 20 of us in there all together. We all had to line up in full NBC kit. That's nuclear, biological, chemical warfare gear, including gas mask or respirator. Once the door was closed, the CS gas cube was lit in the middle of the room. We then had to get up after a couple of seconds of exposure to it, put our gas masks on, walk around, breathe, breathe through the gas mask. One by one, we were then told to come to the front door. One by one, we were told to remove the gas mask for sight, name, rank, and number. Then the name of your mother, name of your brother, name of the commanding officer. While this was happening, you were slowly being exposed to the CS gas. Your eyes started to water, your nose started to water, and you started to cough. When you could no longer speak properly, you were told you were pushed out, and you stand like this and allow the wind to blow it off you. All I'll say is it was a combination of excretia, urine, rotten eggs, somebody with halitosis, somebody who has just let wind, all in together. Yeah, and maybe throw in some babies' nappies for good measure. It absolutely stank. Absolutely stank. And in a scenario where you use it, either on exercise or in combat, you're wearing your NBC kit, the nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare kit, and if you sense gas, it's literally gas. You've got 10 seconds. That's it. 10 seconds to put your gas mask on or your respirator over your head. If you don't, you're dead. Simple as that. So yeah, that was the worst thing I've ever smelt. Are there another? I think it was the other question he asked me was, are there any weird smells that I like? And the answer is yes. When the London Marathon comes to town and down in London, Blackheath, as you're walking to the start, the smell of Raljex deep heat wafts over the common, and it always reminds me of my running. It's a weird smell, but it's a really nice smell because I know I'm gonna run. So yeah, deep heat it's a weird smell, but I really like it. Okay, right. That, ladies and gentlemen, will do it for part one. I have a few more. Obviously, there's at least maybe 4 questions. One's quite a long lifestyle question, so I'm going to have to do that in part 2. So stay tuned for part 2 of this Q&A. I've enjoyed it so far. Hope I've provided those answers to those questions so far, and I'll see you in part 2 shortly. Okay, take care. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.